Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Aspiring Entrepreneur. I'm your host Hamza Chowdhury. Welcome to today's daily stock recap. It is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. In this video, I go over stocks that we cover in our Sunday night video, and we basically just do a recap on how they performed today. This week, we're covering Apple, Tesla, Palantir, Clover, Spce, and we are covering a C3 AI. Honestly, like I mentioned, definitely check out the Sunday video. I did talk about the long-term performance of a lot of these stocks that we do cover. So although today was an extremely bloody day in the market, I do want you guys to definitely check out the Sunday. I'll definitely post it in this video as well, so you can look at the top right of the video and click it to see kind of what my longer-term vision is on a lot of these stocks. And so we've identified several key levels on a lot of these stocks, and it's one of those things where we mentioned here going into the week on Sunday that our 120 support has been valid for Apple. Okay, and so we've had a solid bounce on it yesterday, and I mentioned that 123 most likely would be the resistance. And another thing I explained on our Sunday channel, guys, is that I don't like to convert the resistance and supports every day. And a lot of traders, you may ask, well, why is that? If this crosses it, why doesn't that instantly turn into a support? And the reason why is because until I'm convinced and I've seen validation and I've seen consolidation around that level, I've seen, essentially the stock bounce considerable amount of times, then I consider it a support and resistance. And if you simply change them every day, then it really doesn't, I feel like, do justice, especially for the followers, for you guys who are watching, because then it gets confusing of, well, why isn't this holding? Why was it a support yesterday and a resistance today? And so, when you see levels like, for example, 120, which we've constantly validated, that's when you start to say, okay, I'm convinced that this is a support. Now, of course, it could be broken, but just because it gets broken for one day doesn't convince me enough, right? And so 123, like we mentioned, was our resistance level. We closed below that. We had some weakness in Apple and weakness in general in tech. And so, we traded essentially below 123. So we're going to keep that as a resistance line. And, more or less you can see how choppy the market is, guys. I mean, the spread, was basically a low of 122 and a high of 124. So it was a $2 spread, which is common for Apple. But you can see we were just trading in a zone, right? In a consolidation zone. And then we ended up just selling off just like we did a little bit yesterday. And so it wasn't that exciting. Overall, the markets have been sort of selling off, although they're trading at all-time highs. And so what we have to do is just realize that, these stocks have made a massive move since last March. And they're simply just, taking that 15-20% haircut, a lot of them, and they're consolidating sideways. Okay, so you get these massive moves up, and now we just get the dip buys, and this is simply just dip buying. Okay, so again, check out that Sunday video and you'll understand my sort of longer term vision with a lot of these stocks that we cover. Basically all of them, I'm long-term bullish on all the stocks that we're going to cover today and that we've covered on this channel. Really happy to see our 660 level. I will be honest, I was very happy to see that. I mentioned to you guys that that was a strong support, and this was even a support, guys, even back here when I mentioned that I definitely saw that Tesla was going to hold this level, even though it was trading that one day. I didn't change it, and I mentioned it's a support, and we got that yesterday. We got validation of it, got further validation of it today. Okay, so that's why I kept it as a support. We bounced right off our 660, and then we traded right above it, and that was good to see. And you can see Tesla, it only had a $20 range today, but as long as we can hold above 660, then we can really consolidate up between 660 and 710. Then we can definitely get up here at the 775, which has been my next price target resistance for Tesla. And again, massive move up, long-term vision bullish, and then this is simply the dip buyers coming in. And like I said, we can definitely continue the leg up as this channel is forming now on the daily as the consolidation. Okay, so when you see the Bollinger Band is starting to form a channel, it's basically going to trade sideways like it did here in the 800s, and then we can expect to see hopefully a break, a break upwards, as opposed to here we had a breakdown on the lower band. Okay, and so that's my expectation with Tesla, is that we'll validate the 660 level as well tomorrow. We could possibly dip by around 650 if the market opens weak. But like I said, I expect us to trade sideways in here, and you can see that there's some issue here in the 680. But my hope again is that the market's strong, Tesla's strong. Tesla has just a ton of things going on for it, guys. This is probably the most exciting stock I think we have, just because it longer term vision. It's still a relatively young company, and there's just longer term vision. There's just a lot more upside to it. And like I mentioned consistently, that I still expect that $1,000 price target this year. Okay. Palantir, as I mentioned yesterday, probably the weakest of the stocks. It just can't hold any key levels. We are now in a channel, as you can see here on the daily. Again, back to the Sunday channel, I'm still long-term bullish on the stock. Absolute steal at these levels, but it's just been hard because, you know, we had this 2550 level. I knew that the 2750 level was strong, and then we just sell off. And so we don't sell off and then bounce, you know, and that's the problem with Palantir is you're like, well, why would you keep 2550, you know, as the resistance? Because look, there's just no bounce off of that level. And so you get to this key level here on the retracement from the sell-off that we had a few weeks ago, and then instead of bouncing off a level, we just fade. And we fade all the way back down. And so it's just a weak stock. And, you know, we mentioned that there's just a lot of sellers, a lot of shares that are out. And I expect that once we can really get them flushed out and we have this demo day coming up in 30 weeks, that we should, you know, get a reclaim of all these levels and get way back above the 50-day. Okay. And the 50-day is trading right now around 28 bucks. And so it's just interesting to see that we were able to trade such a high, you know, and you guys keep in mind, this is the first leg up, really, in Palantir. We traded as high as 33.50 on the first leg up back in November, okay? So when it was first bullish, it went all the way up to 33. Then it came back to consolidating, held the levels in the 20s, and then it went back up into as high as $45. And so the fact that we're back at this sort of consolidation level, you know, it's just the overall market weakness. And, you know, again, long term, definitely bullish on Palantir. And so it definitely surprised us, especially with this move here all the way up to 45, and it became a meme stock. Okay, so again, I expect that we will get back to these levels, but it's just unfortunate that we're not being able to bounce off of them. It's just continuing weakness, but it's an absolute steal, and I would be definitely adding shares. Clover, I also, you know, 815 guys, we mentioned we had several days of consolidation above this level. We got validation today, which was great. We closed above it, and then we also are now trading at post market around 815. And so as long as we can hold above 815, again, there's nothing wrong with trading slightly below it like we did today when we hit 811. But guys, this is definitely the key level here is 815. Okay, and now the first level that I did change as I went from 925 as the first level of resistance down to 880. We really struggled, you can see, for essentially 4 or 5 days to really get past 880. And so once we had the breakdown today, you know, it just validated 815. And sometimes that's what you need, guys. When stocks are going kind of sideways, they sometimes just need to sell off to really get the people who are essentially the mass iceberg sellers out of the way, and then they can get the buyers back in. And so the dip buyers come back in, and then we go back and retest the 880 to see that we can break it. And I expect us to break it. And like I said, definitely, you know, 910 and 925. And my game plan again is still the same, is to sell up here to into the 1050 when that comes. And so you can see that I'm personally the last few weeks now I'm having to bag hold certain stocks, which is unfortunate because I never have had to do that. But just given the market and the fact that you are getting some really great buys, the fact that they're not fully recovering is what surprises me. And we'll talk about that, especially when we get to AI. And this one was also very surprising. As I mentioned to you guys, a very go heavy great buy zone was $31 at Spce. And when it went down below that, down to closer to 30, I was really surprised because you could see we have a really strong support here. And again, it's the same idea, is that, you know, you're here trading at 36 right up here last week, and then you hold the, you know, this time you hold, right, and you bounce off the support, which is 31, and now you also fail 31. Okay, and so it closed right around 31, so I will keep it still as a strong support, but I was just a little disappointed to see that we even got lower down to 30. Okay, so it wasn't like it was really close, like 30, 50 or 75. It actually went down to all the way as low as, you know, almost under $30. And so I was a little surprised. And you can see this level here, we got that bounce right back here. Okay, so this was the key level here was $30. And so $30 of support, we closed right above it. And I expect tomorrow we should, you know, kind of get up here, definitely into the 32s. But if we have continued market weakness, we could potentially see, you know, coming back down into the high 20s. Somewhere, you know, I would say probably like in here around 28.50 ish is what I would say is the next price target if it does go down to the downside. And so I'm out of this trade. I'm not in it. I like I mentioned to you guys last week, it was one of my biggest winners, but I'm not personally out of it. But, you know, again, you can always dip by here and sell. What I mentioned my price target originally was to get back in here around the $30, $38, $39 range. Okay, right below the 50-day. And then what I think was the weakest stock today, and it's starting to make new lows, is a week ago I mentioned to you guys I was short biased around $90. I went pretty heavy, covered obviously the position. Then I went long. Yesterday had a chance to exit the trade, didn't. But you know, same thing. We had a strong support at $73. We had good validation, and now we faded from $90 all the way down to new lows at $70.50. And so it's just again a really interesting market that you have a stock that IPO'd in the 90s, went as high as like 180, and now it's all of a sudden going down to 70. And so this thing's completely faded off. You can see we're completely oversold on the RSI. We've had this continuing negative momentum, not able to get that, you know, MACD line over the signal line. And so I expect that, you know, with this sort of super trend line, I really expect that we are winding down this negativity in the stock. And my price target again to start releasing shares will be around this 83. But just the fact that we've gone down so much, and you know, you get these sort of buyers that push out and squeeze out all the shorts, right? And then they come back and they just fade it again. Okay, so they push out shorts and then they just fade it. And so it's just been just an overall weak stock. And you know, again, I just want to reemphasize the 50 days at 122. We're literally trading almost 50% off the 50-day, and that's just how much this thing is sold off. And so anyone who's bag holding in the hundreds, you know, I definitely feel for you. And you know, I can't tell you with the straight eye to go dip buy, because that goes against my rules. I always mention to you guys, you know, if you're making lower highs, lower lows every day or every other day, that's not a time to dip buy. You dip buy when what? You see the engulfing candle, and like you saw in Tesla and all the other stocks, and you see a trend reversal. This is not a trend reversal, okay? This was a good consolidation, possibly indicating it, but we never saw that engulfing candle. And sure enough, it just traded sideways and it flushed even more, okay? And so the algos play this really well, and so just be careful, guys, when you're trading this stock. As always, guys, I appreciate if you do hit the like and subscribe button to our channel. We're a 100% free content channel. I just literally take time of my day to come out here and just try to share with you guys some of my knowledge on trading. I have been a day trader and been trading for about 12 years now. And so if there's anything I can do to help you, feel free to post a comment onto this. I do respond to all comments. And as always, I appreciate your support. It's really what keeps me motivated into doing this, and knowing that I can potentially change people's lives and help people. And at the same time, understand that I don't care to sell any chat rooms or any of the things that you see all these other folks do. Nothing against that. Everyone needs to make a living, but I just think that education should be given to those who need it the most, and without any charges. And successful people help successful people. Okay. All right, guys, with that said, take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.